The unexpected emissary. Nathan Reed stared through the viewport as the diplomatic vessel approached Lumaria, a world of swirling violet clouds and vast emerald oceans. His presence on this mission was a cosmic accident. Dr. Emerson was supposed to be here, cataloging the botanical wonders of this alien world. Not him. But a last-minute illness had thrust Nathan into the spotlight, armed with nothing but his doctoral research and a suitcase hastily packed with wrinkled formal wear. "First time off-world, Dr. Reed?" Commander Sophia Chen settled into the seat beside him, her uniform crisp and perfect. That obvious. Nathan adjusted his glasses, trying to hide his nervousness. The white knuckles gripping the armrest gave you away. She smiled. "Relax, you're just here to observe the flora. The diplomats will handle the heavy lifting." The heavy lifting, as Commander Chen put it, was the peace treaty between Earth and Lumaria after decades of tense relations. Earth needed Lumaria's rare minerals. Lumaria needed Earth's technological advancements. Simple economics had finally overcome old suspicions. What wasn't simple was the Lumarian tradition accompanying the treaty signing, the selection ceremony, where royal Lumarian women chose partners from the visiting delegation as symbols of unity. "It's purely ceremonial," Ambassador Wallace had explained during their briefing. "The selections are predetermined based on rank and diplomatic status. You scientists needn't worry." The ship descended through iridescent clouds, landing on a platform surrounded by structures that resembled giant flowers. Nathan felt his heart race as the delegation prepared to disembark. "Remember," Commander Chen whispered, "maintain eye contact but don't stare at their skin patterns." "It's considered intrusive." Nathan nodded, suddenly self-conscious about his rumpled appearance compared to the immaculate diplomats and military officers. His research on Lumarian plant life hadn't prepared him for first contact with the Lumarians themselves. The delegation was greeted by tall, graceful beings with skin that shimmered with patterns of light. Their ambassador, a dignified figure named Voran, led them through corridors that seemed to be alive, pulsing with gentle luminescence. "Welcome to the Royal Pavilion," Voran announced. "Queen Selene and Princess Zara await you in the Chamber of Light." Nathan hung back, trying to remain invisible as they entered a vast chamber with a domed ceiling that mirrored the night sky. At the center stood two Lumarian women, the Queen, regal and imposing with deep purple skin adorned with intricate light patterns, and beside her, a younger Lumarian with a softer glow, Princess Zara. While Queen Selene spoke words of welcome, Nathan found himself unable to look away from the princess. Her skin held a lavender hue that seemed to capture and refract light in hypnotic patterns. Her eyes, large and expressive, surveyed the human delegation with undisguised curiosity. The formalities proceeded as expected until Queen Selene announced, "Now, as tradition dictates, the royal women will select their ceremonial partners, signifying the bond between our worlds. 5 royal Lumarians, including Princess Zara, stepped forward. One by one, they approached the delegation, selecting the predicted partners, Ambassador Wallace, 2 generals, and Commander Chen. Then came Princess Zara's turn. She moved with fluid grace through the assembled humans, her light patterns shifting in what Nathan recognized as expressions of contemplation. She passed Ambassador Wallace's son, the expected choice, and continued moving through the crowd. A hushed tension filled the chamber as she approached the back of the delegation where Nathan stood. Her eyes, deep pools of violet, locked with his. A tingling sensation swept through his body like static electricity, but pleasant. "I choose this one," she said, her melodic voice carrying through the silence. Her slender hand extended toward Nathan. Nathan froze, certain there was some mistake. He glanced around, expecting laughter or correction, but found only shocked faces from the human delegation and curious expressions from the Lumarians. "Step forward," Commander Chen hissed from the side. On legs that felt disconnected from his body, Nathan moved to stand before Princess Zara. Up close, he could see the delicate features of her face, the subtle variations in her purple skin tone, and the curious intelligence in her eyes. "What is your name?" she asked, her voice sending pleasant vibrations through the air between them. "Nathan Reed," he managed, his voice barely audible. "I'm just a botanist," A smile curved her lips as light danced across her skin. There is no just about you, Nathan Reed. The luminous energy speaks. As her fingers lightly touched his arm, Nathan felt a jolt of connection that transcended physical sensation, a momentary glimpse into something vast and beautiful that he couldn't begin to comprehend. And in that moment, the trajectory of two worlds began to shift, pivoting on the unexpected bond between a reluctant botanist and an alien princess who saw something in him that no one else ever had. Whispers of Light Nathan found himself assigned quarters in the eastern wing of the royal pavilion, a suite with walls that seemed to breathe and shimmer with bioluminescent patterns. Ambassador Wallace had spent 20 minutes lecturing him about diplomatic responsibility and not ruining decades of negotiation, while Commander Chen had simply patted his shoulder and whispered, "Try not to start an interstellar incident. Now alone." Nathan stood by the window overlooking Lumaria's capital city, a sprawling marvel of organic architecture where buildings grew rather than being constructed, their shapes flowing like liquid sculpture beneath twin moons. A soft chime announced a visitor. When the entryway dilated open, Princess Zara entered, her presence immediately filling the room with a subtle radiance. Her lavender skin seemed to pulse with internal light, patterns shifting across her arms and face like living calligraphy. "You seem troubled," she said, approaching him with fluid grace. Nathan swallowed hard. "I'm confused. There were generals and ambassadors there. Important people. Why choose me?" Zara tilted her head, her large eyes studying him. "Your people see importance in titles and position. We Lumarians perceive the world differently." She extended a hand, palm up. "May I show you?" Hesitantly, Nathan placed his hand in hers. The moment their skin touched, a warm sensation spread up his arm, and the lights beneath Zara's skin brightened and accelerated their patterns. "Extraordinary," she whispered. "Do you feel it?" He did, a resonance like standing beside a speaker playing a perfect note. "What is it?" "Bioelectric harmony. All living beings emit subtle energies, but yours," she smiled. "Yours vibrates at a frequency that matches my own. It's extremely rare, even among Lumarians. Is that why you chose me? Because of some biological quirk?" Zara's light patterns flickered with what Nathan was beginning to recognize as amusement. "Would you prefer I chose you for your diplomatic rank?" Nathan couldn't help but smile. "Fair point." In the days that followed, Nathan divided his time between his official botanical research and private lessons with Zara on Lumarian culture. She taught him their form of communication, light speaking, where subtle shifts in bioluminescent patterns conveyed emotions and concepts. "Beyond verbal language, your body doesn't produce light as ours." "Do," she explained during one lesson. "But your energy field responds to ours. Focus on the feeling rather than seeing." Nathan closed his eyes, concentrating on the tingling sensation that occurred whenever Zara was near. Gradually, he began to sense patterns in the feeling, variations that corresponded to different emotions. "I think you're curious right now. And maybe a little impatient?" Zara laughed, a sound like crystal bells. "Impressive. Most humans never perceive even that much." As they spent more time together, Nathan found himself drawn to Zara's keen intellect and perspective. She was fascinated by his botanical knowledge, particularly his research on plant communication networks. "It's not unlike our light speaking," she observed as they walked through Lumaria's famous floating gardens. "Plants on Earth communicate through chemical signals and root networks. We communicate through light and energy. The underlying principle is connection," Nathan agreed, suddenly aware of how close they were standing. The garden around them seemed to respond to their presence, flowers turning and vines subtly shifting toward them. One evening, as they sat in a secluded alcove overlooking the luminescent sea, Zara's hand found his. "There's something I need to tell you about the selection." Nathan felt his heart quicken. "What is it?" "It's more than symbolic. The Lumarian women of royal lineage have a gift. We can sense potential bonds across species, connections that could lead to new understanding between worlds." Her light patterns pulsed with intensity. "What I feel with you is stronger than any I've encountered." She leaned closer, her skin glowing softly in the twilight. Nathan could feel the gentle warmth radiating from her, the subtle electric current between them growing stronger with proximity. "May I?" she whispered. When he nodded, she placed her palm against his chest. The sensation was immediate and overwhelming, a rush of emotions not his own, impressions of wonder and curiosity and something deeper that made his breath catch. Without thinking, he reached up and touched her face, his fingertips tracing the patterns of light that danced across her cheek. Zara's eyes widened. "You can feel what I feel. Is that normal?" "No," she whispered. "It's extraordinary." Their first kiss was like nothing Nathan had experienced, not just the physical sensation, but the cascade of shared feelings, a circuit completing between two beings from different worlds. Her lips were warm and soft against his, and the light beneath her skin brightened, casting them both in a gentle violet glow. When they finally separated, Nathan felt changed somehow, as if boundaries he'd never questioned had suddenly become permeable. "Now, do you understand why I chose you?" Zara asked softly. Before Nathan could answer, an urgent chime interrupted them. Zara's expression shifted as she received a message through her personal communication network. "What's wrong?" Nathan asked. "The Queen's Council has called an emergency session," she said, her light patterns darkening with concern. "They're questioning my selection. We must go immediately." Shadows of Descent. The Queen's Council chamber was a vast circular space where 12 elder Lumarians sat on elevated platforms of living crystal. Nathan felt painfully conspicuous as he entered with Zara, aware of disapproving glances from both Lumarian officials and the Earth delegation representatives who had been summoned. Queen Selene occupied the central position, her expression unreadable as her daughter approached. "Princess Zara, we have concerns regarding your selection that must be addressed." Elder Vorex, a Lumarian with deep indigo skin and sharp features, spoke first. "For generations, the selection has symbolized the union of compatible strengths. Ambassador Wallace's son was the designated choice, a diplomat of standing. Instead, you chose a plant observer." His light patterns flickered with barely concealed disdain. "Dr. Reed is a xenobotanist whose research on interspecies communication parallels our own studies," Zara replied, her posture straight and dignified. "Our bioelectric signatures align in a way I've never encountered. The ancient texts speak of such resonance." From the human side, General Harrison stepped forward. "With all due respect to Dr. Reed, this deviation from protocol threatens the stability of our negotiations. The selection carries symbolic weight for both our peoples." Nathan felt a surge of indignation. "I didn't ask to be chosen," he said, finding his voice. "But I won't stand here and be discussed as if I'm not present." A murmur ran through the chamber. Ambassador Wallace looked mortified, but Commander Chen's lips quirked in what might have been approval. "The human speaks out of turn," Elder Vorex noted coldly. "The human speaks the truth," Queen Selene countered, surprising everyone. She studied Nathan with penetrating eyes. "Tell me, Dr. Reed, what do you understand of our ways?" Nathan hesitated, then answered honestly, "Less than I should, Your Majesty. But I'm learning that beneath our physical differences, we share fundamental patterns. In our biology, our communication, our search for connection. Plants on Earth form vast networks to share resources and information. Your people use light and energy to achieve something similar, but with consciousness directing it." He glanced at Zara, drawing courage from her presence. "What I've experienced with Princess Zara isn't just biological coincidence. There's something meaningful in our resonance, something that might help bridge understanding between our worlds." Queen Selene's light patterns shifted thoughtfully. "Interesting. You speak of connection, while others speak of position." Elder Morai, the eldest council member, leaned forward. "Your Majesty, the princess's unexplained selection has already triggered unrest. The ancestral faction is claiming this breaks bloodline traditions. They're using it to oppose the treaty. And Earth's military advisors question whether this indicates hidden Lumarian abilities to influence humans," added General Harrison. "There are calls to suspend negotiations pending further investigation." Nathan felt the weight of suspicion from both sides. What had begun as a personal connection was transforming into a diplomatic crisis. He caught fragments of whispered conversations. compatibility tests, security risk, genetic analysis. Zara stepped closer to him, her light patterns intensifying protectively. I made my selection in accordance with ancient rite. I sensed what our ancestors described, the harmonic resonance that transcends species. Would you deny what generations of our people have sought? Pretty words, scoffed Elder Vorex, but the treaty was negotiated on terms of mutual benefit and transparency. This selection suggests hidden agendas. The tension in the room was palpable when Ambassador Wallace cleared his throat. Perhaps we're overcomplicating matters. Dr. Reed could simply decline the selection, allowing Princess Zara to make a more conventional choice. Nathan felt all eyes turn to him, weighing, judging. The diplomatic solution was clear. Step aside, return to his plants, let someone more suitable take his place. It would be easier for everyone. Everyone except Zara, whose light patterns had dimmed with quiet distress that only he could perceive. I respectfully decline to decline, Nathan said firmly. Whatever brought Princess Zara and me together deserves to be understood, not dismissed because it's inconvenient to existing plans. Commander Chen unsuccessfully tried to hide a smile, while Ambassador Wallace looked like he might suffer an aneurysm. Queen Selene raised her hand, silencing the chamber. The ancient texts speak of trials for unexpected bonds. If Dr. Reed and my daughter believe their connection serves a higher purpose, let them prove it through the luminous trial. A shocked murmur rippled through the council. Zara's eyes widened. Mother, no human has ever. Then this human shall be the first, Queen Selene declared. In 3 days' time, Dr. Nathan Reed will enter the sacred grove and attempt to find the heart bloom. If he succeeds, we will accept the bond as genuine and of value to both our worlds. If he fails, she left the consequence unspoken. As the council session adjourned, Nathan found himself surrounded by concerned Earth officials. Commander Chen pulled him aside. Do you have any idea what you've gotten yourself into? She asked. The luminous trial isn't just a walk in the park. According to our briefings, it's a journey through Lumaria's most biologically complex ecosystem, one that responds to emotional and mental states. I don't have much choice now, do I? Nathan replied. You always have a choice, Zara said, joining them. Her expression was troubled, light patterns subdued. Nathan, I never intended to place you in danger. The heart bloom responds only to genuine connection. Many Lumarians have failed to find it. Nathan took her hand, feeling the familiar resonance between them strengthen. Then we'll just have to make sure our connection is genuine enough. Later that night, in the privacy of Nathan's quarters, Zara explained more about the trial. As she spoke, her proximity sent waves of sensation through him, heightening with every touch, every shared glance. The sacred grove exists in harmony with Lumarian energy, she explained. It will test not just our bond, but your individual worthiness. And if I fail? Zara's light patterns darkened. Our bond would be severed. I would be required to select another. She moved closer, her hand finding his. But I have faith in what I feel between us. Their lips met again, this time with greater urgency. Nathan felt the boundaries between them blur as their connection deepened, Zara's light patterns spreading to illuminate them both in a soft violet glow. Her touch left trails of pleasant electricity across his skin, and he found himself responding in kind, discovering ways to make her light patterns flare with pleasure. As they explored this new intimacy, neither noticed the shadow passing outside Nathan's window, or the small drone recording their encounter, transmitting images to those who sought to ensure the bond would never survive the coming trial. The luminous trial dawn broke over Lumaria with an aurora of colors that had no names in Earth's languages. Nathan stood at the edge of the sacred grove, a vast expanse of alien vegetation that pulsed and shimmered with its own awareness. Behind him gathered the diplomatic delegations, council members, and royal observers, witnesses to his trial. Remember what I taught you, Zara whispered, her fingers lightly brushing his. The grove responds to intention and emotion. Trust what you feel. Nathan nodded, his throat tight. His botanical training had prepared him to observe plant life, not communicate with it. Yet in the 3 days of preparation, Zara had taught him rudimentary light sensing. building on their natural resonance until he could detect simple patterns without physical contact. Queen Selene approached, her royal regalia casting prismatic reflections. "Dr. Nathan Reed of Earth, do you understand the nature of this trial?" "I am to enter the sacred grove alone and locate the heartbloom," Nathan replied. "I have until moonrise. And you understand the consequences of failure?" Nathan glanced at Zara, whose light patterns betrayed her anxiety despite her composed expression. "I do," the Queen's eyes narrowed. "Many believe this trial impossible for a human. Why do you think you can succeed?" "Because I don't believe our differences define the limits of our connection," Nathan answered. "And because what I feel with Princess Zara is real." Something like approval flickered across the Queen's face. She gestured toward the grove's entrance. "Then begin." With a final look at Zara, Nathan stepped into the living labyrinth. Immediately, the vegetation shifted behind him, sealing his path. He was alone. The grove was unlike anything he had ever studied. Plants that responded to his proximity by either retreating or reaching toward him. Fungi that emitted harmonious tones as he passed. Vines that seemed to whisper in a language just beyond comprehension. Nathan moved carefully, remembering Zara's instructions to project peaceful intentions. An hour into his journey, Nathan encountered his first challenge, a wall of thorned vines blocking his path. As he approached, the thorns extended, sharp and glistening with what appeared to be a paralytic toxin. "Defensive adaptation," he murmured, studying the pattern. Following his instinct, Nathan closed his eyes and focused on the resonance he shared with Zara, projecting not fear but curiosity and respect. The vines trembled, then slowly parted, creating a narrow passage. Meanwhile, back at the grove's edge, Zara paced anxiously as officials monitored Nathan's progress through bioelectric sensors embedded throughout the grove. "He's doing well," Commander Chen remarked, watching the displays. "Better than expected." "Too well," muttered Elder Vorex. He exchanged glances with General Harrison, a silent communication that Zara caught from the corner of her eye. "What have you done?" she demanded, confronting them both. General Harrison's expression remained neutral. "Simply ensured fair conditions, Princess. The trial tests true connection, does it not? Then outside influences should be neutralized." Zara's light patterns flared with alarm. "You've interfered with the grove." Inside the sacred grove, Nathan had reached a clearing where crystal formations rose from the ground, each reflecting fragmented images, some from his memories, others from what appeared to be Lumarian history. As he moved between them, he noticed one crystal showing a scene he didn't recognize. Elder Vorex and General Harrison in conversation with a technician adjusting what appeared to be the grove's bioelectric field generators. "Sabotage," Nathan whispered, understanding washing over him. The trial had been rigged against him from the start. No sooner had this realization hit than the grove around him darkened, vegetation writhing with sudden hostility. A wave of disorientation swept over Nathan as his connection to Zara, the subtle resonance he'd been following, abruptly vanished. Back at the entrance, Zara confronted Queen Selene. "Mother, the trial has been compromised. Those who oppose our bond have altered the grove's response fields." Queen Selene's expression darkened. "A serious accusation, daughter." "One easily verified," Commander Chen interjected, stepping forward with a data tablet. "Our systems detected unauthorized transmissions to the grove's environmental controls approximately 10 minutes ago." She displayed the evidence, tracing the signal to a device hidden among General Harrison's equipment. As guards moved to secure both Vorex and Harrison, Ambassador Wallace looked genuinely shocked. "General, what is the meaning of this?" "The Lumarians have abilities we don't fully understand," Harrison replied stiffly. "This resonance could be a form of mind control. I acted to protect Earth's interests by sabotaging an ancient sacred ritual." Queen Selene's voice was cold. "You've endangered not only Dr. Reed, but the treaty itself." "We must abort the trial," Zara insisted. "Impossible," Elder Morai said. "Once begun, the grove can only be reopened at completion or failure. To force entry would destroy its living matrix." Zara's light patterns pulsed with determination. "Then I must help him." Before anyone could stop her, she placed her hands on the living barrier at the grove's entrance. "Our connection was strong enough to be perceived as a threat. Let's see if it's strong enough to overcome interference. Inside the grove, Nathan stumbled through increasingly hostile terrain. Luminescent fungi emitted disorienting spores, while vines actively tried to ensnare his limbs. Without his resonance with Zara to guide him, he was navigating blind, relying solely on his botanical knowledge to identify which plants to avoid. Then, just as a particularly aggressive tendril wrapped around his ankle, Nathan felt it, a faint pulse of familiar energy. Warmth spread through his chest as somewhere outside the grove, Zara was reaching for him. Focus, he told himself, closing his eyes and concentrating on that sensation. Despite the distance and interference, their connection hadn't been completely severed, merely obscured. Following this tenuous thread, Nathan pushed deeper into the grove. The hostility of the vegetation gradually subsided as his confidence in the connection grew stronger. He began to understand. The grove wasn't testing his ability to find a flower. It was testing the resilience of his bond with Zara. Hours passed as Nathan navigated increasingly complex environments, each seemingly designed to challenge different aspects of connection: trust, understanding, perseverance. The thread of resonance with Zara strengthened until he could almost see it. A luminous pathway through the living maze, finally. As the first of Lumaria's moons began to rise, Nathan emerged into a central chamber where a single plant grew, the heart bloom. Unlike the vibrant organisms throughout the grove, this plant appeared dormant, its closed bud emitting only the faintest glow. As Nathan approached, he understood the final test. The heart bloom responded only to genuine connection, not just his link to Zara, but his connection to Lumaria itself, to the web of life that spanned this alien world. Kneeling beside the plant, Nathan placed his hands on the soil surrounding it. He closed his eyes, drawing upon everything he'd learned from Zara, everything he'd observed about the patterns of life on Lumaria. Rather than imposing his presence, he offered it, his understanding, his respect, his willingness to become part of something larger than himself. The ground beneath his palms warmed. The heart bloom trembled, then slowly unfurled, revealing petals that shimmered with the same patterns of light he'd come to associate with Zara. As it opened fully, it released a pulse of energy that spread outward through the grove. Nathan felt the wave pass through him, carrying with it a profound sense of recognition. In that moment, he wasn't just connected to Zara, he was connected to Lumaria itself, a strand in its vast living network. The vegetation around him shifted, creating a clear path back to the entrance. As Nathan emerged from the grove, heart bloom cradled carefully in his hands. The assembled crowd fell silent. Zara rushed forward, her light patterns blazing with joy and relief. As their hands met, the heart bloom between them brightened, its patterns synchronizing with Zara's. "Impossible," Elder Vorex whispered. "Apparently not," Queen Celine replied, her expression thoughtful as she studied Nathan and her daughter. "The grove has recognized their bond." Commander Chen approached General Harrison, who stood under guard. "You risked an interstellar incident based on unfounded fears." "The fact remains," Harrison insisted, "that we don't understand the nature of their influence over humans." "Perhaps," Nathan said. Looking up from the heart bloom, "That's precisely the point. Understanding doesn't come from fear or control. It comes from connection." He turned to Ambassador Wallace. "The treaty shouldn't just be about resources or technology. It should be about learning from each other, finding the resonance between our worlds." As the heart bloom continued to pulse with light between them, Zara squeezed Nathan's hand. "I believe we've just taken the first step." Worlds aligned. 3 months after the luminous trial, the Grand Hall of Unity bustled with activity as final preparations for the treaty signing ceremony took place. What had begun as a straightforward exchange agreement had evolved into something far more profound, a collaborative accord that established the first joint research initiative between humans and Lumarians. Nathan adjusted the formal attire he'd been provided, still uncomfortable with his newfound prominence. As co-director of the Harmonic Resonance Project, he now stood at the center of a scientific revolution that was redefining interspecies communication. "Nervous?" Zara asked, entering his quarters. Her purple skin glowed with particularly complex patterns today, formal royal designs that marked the historical significance of the occasion. Terrified, Nathan admitted with a smile. Public speaking isn't exactly my specialty. Zara's light patterns flickered with affection as she approached. Since the trial, their connection had deepened beyond anything either had imagined. Through dedicated practice, Nathan had developed the ability to perceive and respond to Lumarian, light speaking with remarkable clarity, while Zara had become attuned to the subtler bioelectric signals of human emotion. "You've faced a rigged sacred trial and hostile plants," she reminded him, straightening his collar. "A room full of diplomats should be manageable by comparison." Their relationship had become the living embodiment of the principles they now sought to establish between their worlds, not the erasure of differences, but the celebration of complementary strengths. The incident with General Harrison and Elder Vorex had exposed the fears on both sides, allowing for honest dialogue about concerns and intentions. "Ambassador Wallace wants to review our presentation one more time," Nathan said with a sigh. "He's still uncomfortable with the demonstration portion," Zara noted. "He thinks it's too intimate for a formal ceremony." Nathan shrugged. "It's the clearest way to show what we've discovered. Besides, Queen Selene approved it." The demonstration they had planned would reveal what months of research had confirmed, that the resonance between them wasn't unique, merely rare. With proper training and technological assistance, humans and Lumarians could establish varying degrees of bioelectric communication, opening possibilities for collaboration far beyond conventional methods. As they made their way to the grand hall, they passed the newly established Botanical Exchange Garden, where earth plants grew alongside Lumarian flora, each adapting to the other's presence. Scientists from both worlds worked together, studying the interactions and potential applications. "Dr. Reed!" Commander Chen called, approaching with a smile. Following the exposure of General Harrison's sabotage, she had been promoted to lead Earth's security detail. "The Earth delegation is asking about your equipment requirements for the demonstration?" "Just the standard biofield amplifier," Nathan replied. "We want to show how accessible this can be." The Grand Hall itself had been transformed for the occasion. Where once it had hosted the selection ceremony that brought Nathan and Zara together, it now featured collaborative displays of art, science, and technology from both worlds. At the center stood a platform where the treaty would be signed, surrounded by translucent panels showing the key research findings from the Harmonic Resonance Project. As dignitaries filed in, Nathan spotted several familiar faces: Ambassador Wallace, looking considerably more relaxed than during their first encounter; Elder Morai, who had become an unexpected ally after witnessing the Heartbloom's response; and even Dr. Emerson, whose fortuitous illness had created the opening for Nathan's journey to Lumaria. Queen Selene entered last, her regal presence commanding immediate attention. "Today," she began, "we gather not simply to sign an agreement between worlds, but to celebrate a discovery that transforms how we understand connection itself." She gestured toward Nathan and Zara. "What began as an unexpected selection has revealed pathways of communication we had only theorized. I invite Dr. Reed and Princess Zara to share their findings." As they took the central platform, Nathan felt a momentary surge of anxiety, quickly soothed by Zara's reassuring touch. Together, they addressed the assembled delegates, explaining how their personal connection had led to broader scientific discoveries. "The bioelectric resonance we share," Zara explained, "exists as potential between all our peoples. With practice and proper attunement, various levels of connection are possible." "We've identified 3 tiers of resonance," Nathan continued. "The first enables basic emotional perception, essentially empathy across species boundaries. The second allows for direct sharing of sensory information. The third, which is rarest, permits the kind of deep connection that Princess Zara and I experience." A murmur of interest spread through the crowd as they activated the biofield amplifier, a device that made Lumarian light patterns visible to human eyes and strengthened human bioelectric signals to levels Lumarians could perceive. With permission, Zara said, "We would like to demonstrate with volunteers." Ambassador Wallace and Elder Morai stepped forward, each representing their respective worlds. With guidance from Nathan and Zara, they established a simple resonance connection, their surprise evident as they perceived each other's basic emotional states. "Remarkable," Wallace breathed. "I can feel your curiosity, Elder Morai. It's like knowing without being told." The demonstration continued with other volunteers, each experiencing varying degrees of connection. Some managed only fleeting impressions, while others established more substantial links, but all emerged with a profound appreciation for the possibility. "This technology and training will be central to our collaborative future," Queen Selene announced as the demonstration concluded. "The treaty we signed today establishes not just exchange of resources, but exchange of understanding." As Nathan watched the Queen and Earth's Prime Minister sign the historic document, he felt Zara's hand slip into his. Their light patterns, for Nathan now generated weak but perceptible patterns of his own, synchronized in a display of harmony that symbolized everything they had discovered together. "Did you ever imagine," Zara whispered, "when you reluctantly boarded that ship to Lumaria, that you would help reshape relations between our worlds?" Nathan smiled, thinking of the nervous botanist who had tried to remain invisible during that first diplomatic reception. "I was just hoping not to embarrass myself in front of aliens." Zara's light patterns danced with amusement. "And now? Now I know that alien is just another word for not yet understood," he replied, squeezing her hand. "Understanding starts with connection." Later that evening, as Lumaria's twin moons rose over the capital city, Nathan and Zara stood on a private balcony overlooking the botanical exchange garden. The heart bloom, now replanted in a central position, glowed softly, its patterns reflecting their combined presence. "The Queen has approved my proposal," Zara said, her light patterns shifting to express both excitement and nervousness. "I am to lead a permanent delegation to Earth, to oversee the establishment of a harmonic training center." Nathan's pulse quickened. "You're coming to Earth?" "With your permission," she replied, her expression softening. "As my chosen partner, you have the right to decline." In answer, Nathan pulled her close, his forehead touching hers in the Lumarian gesture of profound connection. The resonance between them surged, carrying waves of emotion too complex for words. Joy, anticipation, devotion. "Earth will never look the same to me," he said. "Seeing it through your eyes, experiencing it through our connection, it will be like discovering my home world for the first time." As they embraced beneath the alien sky, the light patterns across Zara's purple skin extended to envelop them both in a gentle glow. In that luminous moment, the distance between their worlds seemed to vanish, replaced by the simple truth they had discovered together, that across the vast expanses of space, across differences of biology and culture and history, connection remained the most powerful force in the universe. The heart bloom in the garden below pulsed in response, its light reaching upward like a beacon, not just for two individuals who had found each other against all odds, but for two worlds now irreversibly aligned through understanding, respect, and the courage to reach beyond the familiar into the vast unknown.